Kate Newfalter. Welcome to Irish Granny Helen and Gerald, knitter extraordinaire. He is going to be our guide on this adventure.
Oh, keep your head and arms inside the ride at all times.
And keep your eyes on your work. Keep your eyes on your own paper.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that you're willing to do this because like I'm sure many people, I'm largely self-taught from books and YouTube videos, and there's got to be easier ways to do things sometimes, right?
Oftentimes, yes, especially since we have so many good resources online that are available. I think you can probably do a search on the interwebs and you can find
Anything.
15 to 1,000 different videos on how you need to do something. So it's really impressive.
There are a lot of very patient older women who make videos with real heavy, easy to look at yarn
Like this.
and they show you the tricky stitches, right? And it's so helpful because often long ago in the past, I just gave up because I just didn't know what was going on. Also, the book, I should have brought it. Stitch and Bitch is a wonderful resource to learn how to read a pattern.
Well, and yes, I think reading a pattern is a critical thing. When I used to teach knitting classes, I would tell people you need to always read your pattern from beginning to end, because invariably you're looking at something and you'll do the knitting for a section
and then go to the wrong section.
Well, what you'll do is when you finish with that section, you'll see, while at the same time doing this every other day.
Yeah, I've done that.
And
I'm really bad. I'm a Taurus. We don't read instructions. So
how's that working for you?
Poorly, very poorly. I probably put in a minimum of 30% more work into any project, ripping it out.
I am a firm believer of, I think you should take the time to read the instructions. That way you know what's supposed to happen and you can ignore it if you so choose.
Some of us have a brain that does this with instructions. Finished measurements, blah, 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 blah. It starts to make not a whole lot. There's too much information all at one time. I'm a learner by doing.
Yes. Oh, I am too. But when I was teaching classes, I would encourage everybody to read the whole thing.
I think you're right. I'm not arguing. I agree with
you.
I think that's wise.
But I think it's wise. I don't think you're arguing with me, because I imagine if you are arguing with me, Helen, I would know it.
Probably, yeah. And
yeah.
I will live to regret it too, because I pay the price here, right?
Yeah. But I will have to say, I think that goes from my trainer perspective and teaching the knitting, where I would say things. Did you read the instructions? It says, well, I read up to this section. Okay. Put down your knitting, finish reading it so that I can answer questions, because there's things that go on at the same time.
Yeah.
Or this is confusing. It can be confusing. And I'll be honest with you, Helen, I am a person who, if I'm reading it doesn't make sense, I'm going to have to read it out loud to myself. And then I'm going to have to do
visualize,
knit, purl, knit, purl, knit,
Yeah, no, that makes a complete sense to me, because like I said, very quickly, all instructions turn into ancient Sumerian. I have no idea what they're talking about. However, I'm not sure that it's a bad thing that I have to rip things out and do it again. I'm getting a lot of practice.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that I have struggled with that is sometimes the yarn, if I have to rip it or unknit it or tink, actually it would be ripping it out. it's going to have the kinks in it from the other knitting, depending upon how long.
I know.
So, and then other times I just go, you know what, I'm setting this down because I can't do this.
Yeah. I started a sweater for myself. Now, I never knit stuff for myself beyond a hat, you know. I just don't. And I started out making dog sweaters because it'd fit some dog somewhere sometime, you know.
You got it.
And then baby stuff because they'll grow into it.
Yes.
I got a little bit more challenging in sizing and stuff as time went along. I guess the piece of resistance, the real great thing I made was I made my husband a pullover sweater. And it was beautiful. And he wears it. He's worn it to death. I mean, it's all pulled and old and falling apart. And now it's too big. It's another issue. And, but it turned out beautifully. It really did. So I decided to make myself a sweater last year. And it came off the end of Christmas knitting. And I had knitter's fingers.
Oh,
and it got so painful that I just had to quit for a while.
Yes.
And then I lost track. So I've got one section of a 4-section trunk of a sweater. We're not the arms yet, just the trunk. One section made, and I'm not entirely sure which part of the sweater it is. I don't, and I've got some knitting on the knitting, what do you call them?
The needles.
Needles. I want to say sticks.
I was going to say, I think you were going to say sticks. Yes.
I was. And I'm not entirely sure where I am in the pattern because I didn't write it down, mea culpa. And I was thinking maybe I should rip out what's on the knitting needles and just try to figure out. I don't know what to do. It's just very sad because it's from that beautiful knitting book I showed you from Outlander. It's the woman's cardigan, and it is really beautiful. And now, because I've got healthy and became a vegetarian, it's probably too small. Because guess what? Nuts are far higher in calorie than like chicken. So, my God. It's just.
Are you asking me what you should do with that?
What is your opinion? I don't promise I'll take your advice, but what is your opinion?
I never want you to take my advice unless it works for you. I would actually lay out your knitting in a well-lit area on a table, on a bed, and then look at the instructions so that you know what you've done. Because you said you had one piece finished. So, okay, you know you've done that. And if you think that this next one is start to read your knitting. And go, okay, you know, because I'm knitting a hat, you know, this is a knit 2, purl 2, rib.
Right.
And then you can count the rows if you need to. And then you could just follow along and do some detecting.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. And usually what happens is I don't get to knitting till the evening. And I usually do it in bed while I've got the television going. And so I'm not really devoting 100% of my attention. And the lighting is not good enough for detective work. It's good enough for, you know, so my bad. I know.
No, I mean, but I encourage you to not pull it out unless you know exactly what you're doing, why you're pulling it out.
That's good. That's why I haven't done anything with it. I'm just sort of, it's kryptonite. It just sits there.
You know, and let's face it, if it was at the end of the Christmas knitting, you're tired, it's dark. Yeah. Have a good cup of something and just
a good cry.
And a good cry, yes.
Right. Yeah. So I will show you what I've been up to. I need a pattern. I'm unlike some illustrious knitters like Denise Siegel. Tell her I said that. I need a pattern. And so I have this pattern for a shawl that I'm making for myself. That's beautiful. The finished product. This is kind of the close-up of the pattern. And it's a little more, well, here, I'll show you you can see the detailing in the back of it. So it's a nice. Little fancier than I thought it would be. So I have it here, and I was complaining for the sake of people watching. I was complaining to Gerald that my knitting is poofy. It's not, doesn't have a heft to it. Like it doesn't hang the way this thing does. And why don't you tell me again what you told me?
Well, because it's still on the needle, so it's all scrunched up, and you have been manipulating this lovely fiber and torturing it by twisting it, turning it, doing yarn over pearls and all that stuff. When you bind it off, and if you were to block it, which is basically you get it wet and then you lay it flat and stretch it out. So for those of you who don't know that term, it gives everything a chance to go.
Yeah, it releases the fibers. It gets them nice and wet, and they kind of, I guess, relax. And with a baby sweater, for example, which is one of the more common things that I would knit, after I was done, I would just really soak it in cold water, button it up. I would put a beach towel on an unused room, put a beach towel on the floor, and I would lay the sweater like there's an invisible baby in it, buttoned up and perfectly aligned.
Perfect. Yes.
And then I would actually roll it in the sweater and kind of gently squeeze the excess water out, unroll it, and then let it dry. Let it air dry. Yeah. And it's remarkable. It looks like it's brand new. Well, it is brand new, but it looks unhandled. Yeah. It's great.
Yes.
So the last time we talked, we agreed that maybe we would do socks.
Yes.
And you're going to talk me through it.
I will. Yes, I will talk you through it.
So I have a sock pattern, and because nothing can be easy, I happen to pick a pattern that the printing of the words is so small, it should be in Braille. And I have yarn. And I start at the beginning.
Okay.
And so we're using double pointed needles for anybody who finds this intimidating. The only intimidating part of it is just making sure that it doesn't slip off the needle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you're really only knitting with 2 needles. The other ones are just sitting there. May I ask the name of the sock pattern that you're using?
It's called Color Choices. It's a basic sock pattern number 1. It comes from a blog.
Okay.
From 2011. Okay. I just went on the internet and typed in free sock patterns.
Okay.
This popped up and I thought, okay, it looks simple enough. So when I did start it out, it starts at the cuff, the leg part, the ankle part. And you can make this, I suppose, as long as you wanted it, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to do it maybe a little longer than the pattern calls for. You'll be a proud teacher. I actually have been keeping track of how many rows I've been doing. I know. The moon is blue. I know.
Wow. This is great.
The hardest part of this so far, so you cast on, and you can cast on a straight needle. Or I like the round needles.
Circular needles, yes.
Circular needles, yeah. But then you slip them. You slip an even number onto the 4 needles. And that helps to make sure that your count is correct. I like that,
Yes.
And so when you start, the pattern's very simple. You're supposed to do 11 rows of knit 1, purl 1. So the big challenge here for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, is it's a little fussy. It's small needles and small yarn, and I can't even see what I'm doing a lot of the time, and I have to be really cautious. But that's okay, because while you're knitting your hat, I have a few random questions for you.
Okay, well, let me ask you a couple of questions. What size needle are you using?
I started with a 4. It said to use a 4 for the cast on, and then go down to a 3.
Yes. Do you know why you do that?
So that they don't slide, right? They don't fall off you.
It's because the cast on is oftentimes a little tighter than the knitting. So casting on using one needle size larger actually helps it so that you can get the socks on and the ribbing will stretch appropriately.
I didn't know that. Very clever. That's very clever.
So size 3 needle. Okay.
And then you just go for it. And you do the tube part that your leg, lower leg, and ankle go into, and then you get to the heel, and that's when all the fun starts.
I think there is, for those of you who've never knitted socks, knitting a heel, and it's a fascinating thing to see how it goes. Turning a heel, it's just like, I remember the first time I did it, it was like, it still gives me a thrill. It's like, really, that is fascinating. And I'm like going, there's like knitting there's math in knitting. Holy crap.
Who came up with it? This is the part that mystifies me. Who invented it? You could give me yarn and needles, and I could be here till the second coming of Christ. I wouldn't figure out how to create a heel. It would never happen.
It would never have made sense to me. And I am eternally grateful for the people who understand it and go, well, what happens if?
Yeah.
And that's how a new knitting pattern gets.
That's right. Created. And I do think it's a different kind of creative mind.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So we don't know how long it's going to take me to get this this simple part of the sock made to get to the heel. So if we do the heel today, it'll be an act of God. That's a beautiful color.
Well, I was looking for yarn that I was going to use to knit socks. And this is old yarn that I've had for quite a while. It's British Breeds Guernsey 5-ply. So.
Oh, look, we match almost.
Mm-hmm.
We're color coded. Look at that.
And then I also I'm a person who I never want to run out of, well, let me rephrase that. Because I want my socks to match, I will oftentimes take something like this and divide it into 2 balls, so that one for each sock. That way I know how much yarn I have left. But then I said, I don't really care if the toes are different. So I can do the toes with that.
Oh, that's so smart.
Or I can do the rib with this.
Or you could do a stripe.
Yes.
But then you have to deal with the little dangly parts.
That's okay. I'm okay with the little dangly parts.
Okay. So usually Gerald, for those who don't know, Gerald has this little question thing he does where he numbers 9 cards and he asks a question. I get to pick the card. Well, I'm not that creative. So in your honor, look what I bought.
Bad Opinions. Ooh.
The party game of hot takes and sizzling debates. And so what this is each card has a scenario or a question on it, and we get your take on it. So this is an example on the back. We'll probably not draw that card. A popular board game that you dislike, and then you have to defend your opinion.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So as an example, a popular board game.
A popular board game that I don't like is Monopoly.
My least favorite board game. I call it monotony.
Yes, and I call it it's
you
just like no. It's like no. It's like
I hate that game.
It's like there are some people who are really good at it, and I guess I've played with people who were really competitive.
You're not competitive at board games.
Well, I'm competitive, yes, but not necessarily with board games and chance. It's like
exactly. I'm competitive when it comes to facts. Like I love Trivial Pursuits. That's fun. That's my favorite board game. But I don't really care who gets up the ladder, who gets around the board, who spends time in jail, how many banks you own. I do not care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like team sports. I don't care what your goals are here. You can have all the points and you can have the ball. Congratulations. You know?
Yes. Let me know when we're going for dinner.
Well, unless there's a snack, Mom, and then you might introduce us. Because I could get behind that part.
Yes.
I used to love it when I was a snack mom. None of these orange slices and apple juice from me. Now I would make brownies.
Yes. Well, just to catch everybody up, I have been obsessively knitting hats because it's very good for my hands,
Mhm.
and it keeps my hands busy and out of the snack jar. And so I am knitting on size 10.5 needles. These are circular needles. It means that they're connected, and you put the points together, they'd make a circle. Pretty much all needles are round or circular. Yep, they're like that. So they have a cable between them. And I'm using a Lamb's Pride bulky, and this is how much I have left of this, and then I will switch to a different color.
It's nice and soft, huh?
It is, yes.
So I was intimidated by these because I'm not good with spatial relationships, and I couldn't understand how on earth you could knit with these. But really, if you think about it a minute, pretend that this is a needle and pretend that this is a needle. You do exactly what you always do. You can use these for knitting that's flat, that's not connected. You're using it for something that's circular, it goes on your head, right? The beauty. Go ahead.
I actually have something that I'm knitting that's flat too. I am. This is another hat that I'm making. So I'm actually knitting it back and forth using the circular needles.
Right. You just knit one row and then you turn it around and you purl knit a row, and you knit a row and you purl a row. The beauty of that, though, is if you don't want to have to sew a seam, you do your cast on, and then how do I describe this? You take the yarn that's connected to the ball of yarn, and you get that in this hand, and you stick your needle into the first stitch, and you've connected in a round, and then you don't end up with a seam. It's really nice at the end. Saves you that effort, and I'm all about saving effort.
Me too.
Okay, so while you're doing that, I'm going to ask you a question.
Go for it.
Unfortunately, you can't choose because there's just like 6 million cards that all look alike, and I don't know what they say. So,
yeah, you were up late last night studying, right?
No, yeah, right, memorizing. I've got them ordered here, pretending I don't know what order they're in. I'm going to take this personally immediately.
Okay.
Just to let you know. Something you grew to I thought it was someone. Someone you grew to appreciate that you used to dislike. Okay, present company excluded. No, it's something you grew to appreciate that you used to dislike.
Well, I will go with the first thing that popped into my mind. Cast iron skillets.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, okay. Why would you have a strong opinion against cast iron skillets?
Because everything that I would put in a cast iron skillet would always burn. And it would always stick.
But you figured out why.
And I understood that cast iron retains heat. And guess what? It's actually non-stick if you treat it properly and you do all of the things that you should do with it. And if you take care of it instead of letting it, don't leave it in the dishwater for 3 days because it'll get rusty.
You can, I know that it has to be babied, and I know it has something to do with like not getting it soaking wet and then oiling it, right?
Yes.
But the process in the middle, I'm not clear on. So let's say you make an omelet on a cast iron skillet. How do you prevent it from sticking?
Well, if the cast iron has been properly seasoned, meaning it has been cleaned, you've put oil on it, you've put it in the oven to bake that oil in.
Oh, I didn't know about that part.
Yeah, you sort of bake it in and take care of it. And then you really just need to, a lot of people say because if it's a hot pan, and you put something in it, it's not necessarily going to stick. You just have to stop moving it around. But it's a hot pan and cold oil to help make sure that things don't stick.
So,
and again, entertainment purposes only, fact check this. So, but this works for me. And then the other thing is, Helen, for me, is it's so important for me I don't need to cook on high. I actually cook about 3 clicks down what I normally do, because the pan retains the heat, and the heat gets evenly distributed.
Because it's cast iron.
And so I have to calm down. I don't know about you. I might be a little impatient. I want stuff now, instead of turning it on medium and letting it warm up before I start to try to cook it.
Do you have gas gas cooking or electric cooking?
Electric.
Oh yeah, we have electric also, which it took me a long time to get used to, because I grew up in California that was gas, and here it's electric. So let me make sure I understand this. So you get a brand new cast iron pan, never been used. So first you put oil on it.
Well, you're going to wash the oven. You're going to wash it, and then with soap and water. Then you're going to
can use soap.
Mm-hmm. And then you're going to. I have put it just a regular vegetable oil on it, and put it into the oven. And I don't remember what temperature it was, but you basically put it in there, and it's tempering it. It's like it's heating it up. It's getting all of the cast iron oiled.
Yeah.
And you can do that a couple of times. I have a particular small cast iron skillet that I like to cook eggs in. And so when I'm done cooking the eggs, because they haven't stuck, I will simply wipe it out with a paper towel, and then it's ready for the next use.
So is it low temperature long period to season it, or is it high temperature short period?
I think it's long temperature, long time.
High temperature, long.
Yes, high temperature, I think.
Okay, we'll Google it to be sure. But so first of all, I didn't know it was okay to use soap. So that's given.
That's the first time. Yeah, I do it with soap when I first get it, and then I don't soak them. But that's just me.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you just do a quick wash, or do you let it sit? You'd rather not let it sit. And do you dry it with a towel, or do you air dry it?
I usually put it on the stove to dry it. I turn on a burner so that it dries.
Warm it up.
Yeah, that's what my mother did. Yes. Okay. And if something is sticking, I will put in salt and I will scrub it.
You mean to clean it? To clean it. Yes. Oh, you wouldn't use a sponge?
I will use a sponge, but sometimes you get a sticky thing that just doesn't work.
Yeah. I gave some great kitchen advice the other day, because cleaning, that's what I do. I discovered accidentally a way to clean. You get a pot or pan and you've had it a few years and it looks like hell. It's all stained and yucky looking on the outside as well as the inside. Cookie sheets are notorious. Cookie sheets are awful. Yes. They always look like they've been through the wars, right? Mm-hmm. So there's an easy way to clean them. You spray them heavily with oven cleaner and put them in a black plastic bag and let them sit.
Wow.
I know, it's wonderful. Except I now realize that I've got several cookie sheets in black plastic bags sitting on my deck. Hope they're okay.
Well, okay. So let me ask you this, and I'm going to phrase this carefully. Do you know people who use cast iron when they cook?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All my kids, they're all cooks.
Okay.
They're all bakers and cooks. It's retaliation for how they were brought up. No, I actually cooked 3 meals a day, every day for over 25 years. That's why I hate cooking. Because I never liked it to begin with. And I associate cooking with cleaning up.
Oh, yeah.
It's a reason to make a mess, in my opinion, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just lazy. So, interesting. See how much we got out of that one little question?
There you go. Well, what about you?
What about me?
Are you going to answer the question, or are you just going to grill me? And
well, we kind of talked about it. It was
what's your answer?
What I liked that I didn't used to like that now I'm okay about. I don't know. Well, I used to hate carrots when I was a child. I cooked carrots. I hated them. Isn't it funny? Children have a more acute sense of taste. And I hated avocado. Oh my God, this will kill you. Grew up in California. We had a couple of really old, gigantic, beautiful Haas avocado trees.
Mm-hmm.
And the Irish don't know from guacamole. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
At least not in those days. And so my parents had no idea what to do with these things, these weird green things. And so they would drop off the tree and we would have avocado wars. We'd jump on them and squirt them at each other at $5 a pop, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I really hated avocados. I would try to eat them. I can remember just feeling kind of, love avocados now. Just love them. So that's something.
How do you like your avocados?
Anyway, I've been presented with an avocado, half an avocado with a like a shrimp salad-y thing in the middle. You can mash them up on bread, avocado toast. You know, it's the influencer's breakfast of choice.
Yes.
But see, I've got so many vegetarians in my family that avocado, they rely very heavily on them to round out their meal. I like them sliced and eat them with an egg.
Mm-hmm.
They make any salad more palatable.
Avocados are good for, what are they high in?
Oils, the kind of oil that they have.
The good stuff.
The good kind of oil. Don't ask me to tell you the chemistry. I can't remember.
I'm not.
But it's the kind of oil the kind of fat that's good for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
good fat.
Yes, good. Yeah, who would have thought? I'm actually.
What do you got there, different colors?
Yes, I am. I'm finished. I'm almost finished with one, with that half skein of yarn. So I'm going to just be adding. I'm going to be doing something called a spit splice. Are you familiar with the word spit splice?
No, I usually just tie a knot.
Okay, a spit splice is when you can do this with. It's best with wool, and what you do is you, because this is a thick yarn, I am going to divide this in half, about, and then the next time we do this, I should get my downward camera, something like that. So this is the piece that I'm going to be adding to this piece. Wait a minute.
So are you eliminating half of each strand?
I'm going to eliminate half of each strand so it stays about the same.
Yeah, so you end up with a 2-strand.
Yes. And so, yep. So then I do something like this, put those together, and then I twist it like this.
Uh-huh.
And then felting. Are you familiar with felting?
Yeah, accidentally.
Felting is when you add heat and moisture to wool and you agitate it. And then it sticks together. So I'm going to do this.
Ew.
And so, sorry, I should have warned you. And then I rub it together to get the heat from rubbing this together. It's going to help felt these together.
So you're getting spit on it and then
it's
warming it up with your hands.
Yes. And then so.
Look at that. And it doesn't come undone?
It does not come undone. And what I usually do is when I do this, I then twist it a little bit and then I leave it alone. because I still have this much to knit.
So you're
with.
doing it in preparation.
I'm doing it in preparation. So you can use water, you can use spit, whatever, but you just need the moisture, and then you need
Heat.
to rub it together and get it hot. And so, when you do this, your hands get warm.
Yeah, friction. Yeah.
So.
God, you're a walking encyclopedia of knitting. I'm so impressed. Who would have known that was a thing? I've never heard of it.
Yeah. And it's
wow.
It's very, very helpful because guess what? When I'm done, I don't have to actually run in any ends.
Oh, and I hate that. But it has to be wool.
It has to be wool. It can be, yes. I'm going to say it has to be wool or something that would felt. So this is wool and mohair. So this felt.
Well, two kinds of wool. Yeah. So that's a beautiful color. I love that color. And it doesn't eventually end up with little ends poking through, or
not if you do it.
Gerald, this is wonderful news. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah. So, and so this is a hat that I recently finished knitting.
Oh, it's so cute.
I did this on purpose because I wanted that because
it's whimsical.
Because how cute is that?
It is adorable. It's so cute.
I did some short rows back here to get this spot to raise up, and you can sew that. And I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to show you all.
Impressed. This is the hard part: manipulating the three-dimensional idea. Right? Yeah. That's the hard part. Oh, so wow!
This is another hat that I did, and this is one that I knit one, and it wasn't this good, but Jeffrey and my husband I like my ribbing to fold up because I like the double layer. He does not like the double layer.
Yeah, I'm with Jeffrey.
So
this is a compromise, right?
There you go. And so I knit it. And so basically this is just a really long hat. It would be very good if I had very big hair, dreadlocks.
And you would be closer to God, but that's not gonna happen.
Yes. But I did this because what I was able to do is then I was able to fold it. Yeah. So basically with one hat and knitting it in the round, I've got one, like here, I've got 2 layers. Here I've got 3 layers. And then at the top, you can see that.
Well, you have 2 styles, really. You have the options. It's versatile. Oh my God. And, it's really cute.
Thank you. I love that. It's fun.
Okay, so now let's see how I can torture you here. Let's see.
Are you?
Oh, this will be good. You're gonna make somebody mad. I love this question. Ooh. Name an animal you dislike.
Name an animal I dislike?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, I have a funny story about an animal that I disliked as a kid, but I understand it now and I don't hate it as much. Can I do that?
Sure. Yeah.
I do not like chipmunks.
I've never seen a live chipmunk.
Okay. I do not like chipmunks. And part of it this is because when I was growing up, there was a chipmunk that was injured and I was trying to help it and it bit me. So I ran into the house screaming with a chipmunk on my hand. So there's the trauma of that.
They're like squirrels, right?
They're smaller than squirrels. They don't have the big tail. Think Alvin and the chipmunks.
If you remember, they all look like squirrels to me.
So they're and so
you're lucky they wasn't rabid.
That they had to test for it, and it wasn't. So there were periods of my life when chipmunks would show up and they would follow me around. I would see them all of the time.
It's genetic memory. It's revenge.
So I sort of like when I finally just accepted, okay, what are you trying to tell me? I was in South Lake Tahoe, walking up the mountain to Eagle Lake, and I'm sitting down and a swarm of chipmunks come out and stare at me.
It's like crows. They have genetic memory and they'll pass it on generationally. If you offend or mistreat a crow, its great-great-grandchildren will recognize your face. I swear, it's revenge. It's karmic revenge of the animals.
So
that's horrifying.
Yeah, so that's been the thing that has been, it's like, oh my gosh, because it was this immediate reaction of being bitten as a child and then screaming at the top of my lungs. And then it's like, I mean, and my siblings still talk about it. They said, oh, it's funny. You were running into the house with this chipmunk on your hand. And I'm thinking about it now. And I'm like, yes, it is funny now.
You know, that's the thing about large families in those days, in, you know, olden times. There wasn't a lot of sympathy to go around. Quit your whining.
Yeah. So what about you? Is there a...
Well, and this is going to piss off half the population. I used to really dislike dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But now I know why. When I was about, and this is really sad, when I was about 6, we got a dog from the pound. It was a small-ish dog. But my mother did not like dogs, and she would not let it in the house. It lived in the yard. When I think about this, I feel sorry for this poor dog. And she had, I don't know, 25 children under the age of 6. So she was a little stretched thin, and they took it back to the pound after I had bonded with it, and I loved this dog. And they took it back to the pound, and I remember sitting in the car sitting alone in the car as a 6-year-old while my father took the dog into the pound. Then when I was about 7, my parents were really good friends with a guy who was a professor at the university, and he was from Scotland. Mm-hmm. And it was an exchange thing, I guess. And he got sent back to Scotland. Well, they owned a Dalmatian, and they gave their Dalmatian to us. And the same thing happened. My mother didn't like this dog, and I loved this dog. And one day I came home from school and he had just disappeared, and she told us he ran away. And, you know, we went all over the neighborhood with signs and asking people and calling for him. I used to have sleepless nights over this dog. And I found out later my parents gave him back to the pound. They gave him to the pound. So for a long time, I maintained the story that I hated dogs. Mm-hmm. And my husband had a dog when we first were dating, mm-hmm. and slowly acclimated me, desensitized me. And now, you know, I love dogs, and we have had a string of dogs. Right now we only have 2, but a couple of years ago we had 6. Because they were all rescues, and they were all ancient, and they had, you know, most of them were rescues. I had a Yorkie that actually I got as a puppy. She was the reject of litter. The breeder, you know, you shouldn't buy a puppy from a breeder. There's too many homeless dogs in shelters. Yes. I firmly believe that. But I always wanted a Yorkie. And I found a breeder who was getting rid of dogs that could not be bred for pedigree, you know, for the kennel club. And this little dog was too big to be a prize winner, and her coat was the wrong consistency and the wrong color. She was absolutely adorable. I had it for 18 years.
Lucky dog.
Yeah, she had the life of Riley. And I found a little dog wandering the neighborhood one day on my walk. It's like, that's a big cat. Not much bigger than a cat. That's a big cat. It was a dog that was deaf and blind and toothless and emaciated and filthy, that somebody had dumped. He had a collar. So I called the phone number, disconnected. It had an address. I went to the address, empty house, house for sale. And I think what happened is the neighborhood was like old people. I think somebody old died or went into a nursing home, and the family just dumped the dog. And it was the other end of town. I don't know how that poor dog, So we took him in and we took care of him. We probably had him for about 4 or 5 years, and he eventually got very, very senile.
Well, I always like that. I like that phrase is, I trust when dogs dislike someone.
There's an awful lot of truth to that. A lot.
Well, and yeah, it goes to that idea of the animals. They have genetic memory, but then dogs, and this may be too ethereal, I think dogs have a sense of pack mentality, meaning, are you going to be good with this group of people?
Mm-hmm.
And, are you going to fit? Are you going to help? Are you going to hinder? Or are your intentions good?
I would say that that's not ethereal enough. I think dogs read energy. I think they're very perceptive about people's intention. It's a survival mechanism.
Yes.
And they're very good at figuring out who's okay and who's not okay. Now, some dogs are like some people, their picker is broken, or their intuition is broken, whatever.
Yes.
But when a dog doesn't like you, either that dog is associating you with someone that mistreated them in the past, or you're no good.
Well, and I've had dogs. I like dogs. I have a dog.
What kind of a dog do you have?
She is a hound mix. We rescued her from the pound.
Like, is she a medium size, or?
She's large, small, large.
Yeah.
She's a
like
small,
maybe
large.
30 pounds or something.
She was at her top weight was about 65 pounds. She was a low rider.
Oh.
And she was a low rider, and she worked extremely well with my boxer and the high energy. And I was like, okay, so I had a boxer, high energy. And I was like, okay, I think it's time to get another dog. So we went to the pound, and I thought, get another boxer. And that wasn't working. And I finally said to somebody, do you have a dog here that you think their energy would work with my dog? And they're like, well, we have this one. Let me, bring it out. Within 2 minutes, they were doing that. They were playing, they were doing that mouth sort of wrestling thing and not touching each other. And Hugo she would lay on the ground and he would be standing above her. And it was just, and I'm like looking at the people in the pound, and I'm like going, that's a pretty good sign. And they're like, that's an amazing sign.
Yeah.
They were drinking out of the same water.
Oh, well, that's that's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they were friends. Are they both still around?
Just Maddie is. Hugo has passed. Yes.
Hugo's the rescue, and Maddie.
Hugo was the boxer.
Oh, okay.
So by the way, I wanted to show people, because I have knit, and you can see. Wait a minute. You can see slightly where their transition is.
Yeah.
In a hat, if anybody is that close to you and they have not bought you dinner, push them back and say, leave me alone.
I agree.
Yeah. But I think people, we're very lucky to have dogs and cats. Cats, of course, they will let you know when you're needed.
Which I'm fine with, which is probably why I preferred cats for a long time. It's less of a demand, but it's not really. It's a different kind of relationship. Exactly. I have a little feral cat that I think somebody dumped a load of kittens. And it took me a while to figure out that what I was looking at was actually different kittens that were related to each other. I thought I was seeing the same cat around the neighborhood. There are about 4 cats that are identical. And one of them was we had an old tomcat in the neighborhood. I would leave food out for him. And he was a scrapper. He had a bad eye and a bent ear, and he was awful looking, but he was 100% feral. But I leave food out for him, and the kittens started showing up to eat the food. So it's taken me at least 3 years. Now she lets me scratch her head, but I can scratch it only so much. And then she's batting at me, you know,
Yeah.
she hides under the car when I walk down the driveway and reaches out and gets my ankles, you know, but
Yes.
never let me pick her up. Never.
Right.
Yeah. But she has a nice warm heated bed on the open. I mean, I've got an enclosed front porch, but I leave the door cracked for her, you know?
Yes.
And, my husband put in a cat door, but she's afraid of it. You know, I think she was trapped at some point. You know?
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, poor thing. It's people are terrible. People don't treat animals with the respect they need to.
Yeah. I think a lot of times that is what happens. However, if I need a boost of my energy, I will sometimes watch the cute adoption videos of puppies, or you know, or things that cats do.
Well,
Yeah.
Gerald, you must be psychic, because I just got done telling somebody this morning that yesterday, I don't usually watch that stuff. Yesterday, I've just been bummed out, you know, current
Mhm.
events. And I needed an escape, and I watched an hour of cute cats and dogs. I felt so guilty because it is kind of a waste of time. But
Well, is it really a waste of time?
I felt
I
better.
don't think so. I don't think so.
No, I think you're right. I felt better. It was hilarious. There's some pretty remarkably funny animals out there. And it's really heartwarming to see people who interact with their animals in a really personal way. You know, they have a
Mhm.
relationship. It's beautiful to see that.
Well, and I always like it because, you know, it's like um, when a dog is introduced to a baby, and you know, it's like, you know, some of the pit bulls or the pitties, and I mean these, you know, these dogs are not that way by nature. They're, you know, nature versus nurture, and
Absolutely. They were called the nanny dog. At the turn of the
yes,
last century,
yes,
people would get a pit bull puppy when they had a baby because they were so attentive to the baby
mhm,
and pretty damn intimidating if anybody was going to bother your child, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, they're so gentle
mhm,
but I also think, God, I hope those are responsible owners,
mhm.
you know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
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 So,
Okay. Well, let's see here. These are great questions, aren't they?
by the way, have you been keeping track of how many rounds of ribbing that you're doing?
I haven't even gotten to one yet.
Okay. Well, I'm
Because
just
we're
asking.
talking. See, I can't do two things at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're talking. I have been keeping. See, I told you I kept track.
I'm very, very impressed because there was some knitting that I was doing and I was playing with. And so sometimes you just got to make notes. The thing that you have to do is to label what you're taking notes about.
See this? You know what this is?
What
This
is
is
that?
a miracle of God.
So I should play the lottery.
Oh, I love this question. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
I love this question because I don't have opinions. Let's see what you say. A popular singer or a musician that you consider overrated. Have you got an hour?
Wow. See, okay, so the problem with this is I don't know a lot of popular singers.
Oh, I bet you can come up with a few names. You can go a little bit in the past if you need to, like to the 90s at the most. My permission.
Well, um, I had an ex who really liked Garth Brooks.
See, I just want to see how many people that we can annoy.
Yes,
Okay, I
you know,
agree. We're on the
yeah.
same page there with him.
So, and you know, and some of the music was good, but this idea of Chris Gaines and going from country to pretending to be a rock star.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, Chris Gaines. It was Garth Brooks's. It was his. He tried to do a crossover rock album, and I'm
Garth
like,
Brooks?
stop, do that. Yeah,
Did
Garth
he take
Brooks.
off the cowboy hat?
Yes, but he
Oh
had
my God.
spiked black hair, and all that stuff. Yeah. So sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, not sorry. But you know.
Come on, I want you to really get the heavy hitters, the ones that everybody loves.
Well, I don't know Taylor Swift's music that well. I don't know her.
You know why that is?
Why?
Because there's absolutely nothing distinctive about it.
Ooh, snap. Ooh.
Now you know where I stand. I don't dislike I don't dislike her with the same feeling I have for somebody like, I mean, I'm not holding back here. Barbara Streisand, Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
What's the one from Canada that's in Las Vegas?
Celine Dion.
Celine Dion. I just don't like that style. But you know who I really like, because I've heard her actually sing real songs and not pop songs? Lady Gaga has a beautiful voice. Beautiful. I just don't like her taste in, but she sang with Tony Bennett, and I'm not nuts.
Oh, yeah.
But songs that actually have like a tune. She has a gorgeous voice. She could sing opera.
Yeah. Well, do you remember Pat Benatar?
Yeah, I do remember Pat Benatar.
I remember because this was in the era of MTV, back when MTV used to play music videos.
I didn't have a TV, so
okay.
I never saw it.
Yeah. Music video television, music television.
Right.
They actually used to play music videos instead of doing all of this party stuff and stupid reality shows.
You know who got rich and famous doing that? This is a talk about your full circle. You've heard of, I'm going to get the number wrong, Blink 182?
Yes.
Tom DeLonge.
Okay.
Of To the Stars Academy.
Okay.
Mr. UFO. He's the one who got the Pentagon to come out and talk about their UFO program. He started on MTV, and I know that because of knowing his background. I've never seen him sing, but he started out with his group on MTV, one of the very first groups, and they did something that had never been done before. They joined partnership with clothes company called Billabong. And they both got rich.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice. Well, I remember Pat Benatar in an interview. She was a trained opera singer.
No.
Trained opera singer. And one of the things that I was like going, every once in a while I think about if I had a child, and my child expressed interest in music, I would be, or singing, it's like, okay, let's teach you opera. Let's get you some opera lessons, because you learn how to breathe. You learn how to control your voice instead of just screaming at the top of your lungs.
Yeah.
So you understand the instrument of your voice.
Well, I was just going to say instrument. You make fun, people call it their instrument, and it's a little precious, but there's a lot of truth to that. It's like a muscle, and you're developing the right way to use it, and then you can do whatever you want. You know who was good at that was Freddie Mercury. What a voice! What a voice! He did that show live in Barcelona with Montserrat Caballé, the opera singer. Okay. They sang the song Barcelona. It was the theme song of the Olympics. It's on YouTube. Every once in a while I put it on my community page because it just speaks to my soul. Unbelievable voice. Unbelievable. Yes. Yeah. Well, I was feeling a little overwhelmed this morning and a little down because of everything going on. Just lots of stuff going on in the world. And I was listening to Prince, Sign of the Times. Are you familiar with Prince? Well, I know who Prince was. I know he's dead and he liked purple. But if you played 3 songs of 3 different people, I wouldn't be able to pick them out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the great things is he was very prolific
If you listen to his music, there's a whole lot going on in there. And he wasn't just a pop singer or a rock star. One of the things that was really fascinating for me when I heard about Prince is when he was recording duets with people, what he would do is he would spend a lot of time talking about the feel of the music and the ambiance of the music. And he would, in the recording studio, he would bring in things so it created the ambiance of what was going on in the song. And I'm like, there's an artist. There's somebody who gets the beauty and the magic of song. And
yeah, he was a musician first and a pop star second, or a rock star, whatever.
yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people, I mean, he very, very prolific songwriter, and people, when I found out that he did the song that Sinead O'Connor, "Nothing Compares to You."
Oh yeah.
That was he wrote that.
He wrote that.
Yeah, and so it's just fascinating. It's like, okay, this is dude's got some good skills.
Well, there's a difference between being a musician and just being the latest star.
Yes.
There really is a difference, and you can often make that distinction based on, well, I'll tell you, the greatest female singer of all times. Do you have an opinion on that?
Greatest female singer of all time?
And we'll talk about what your parameters are after you tell me who you pick.
Okay. I'm blanking on her name.
Well, what time period?
It was probably the 50s, or she sang "God Bless America." What was her name?
Oh, Kate Smith.
Kate Smith. My mother loved Kate Smith. And it was so powerful. And
yeah, she had one of those really larger than life voices. Just
yes.
Huge voice.
Yeah.
Well, like my grandmother always said, there's no accounting for taste. So when you ask somebody what their favorite artist of any kind is, there's no right or wrong answer. It's what resonates for you. And I'm of the belief, this is just my theory, that music of a time period resonates, it vibrates in accordance with the times. And so it speaks to people of that time, and doesn't speak to people from another time period in the same exact way. There are the odd people who like old music out of sync with their generation. And eventually what goes around comes around. That's a law of the universe, right? So people in the 1940s, young people, were predominantly into swing and big band and those sorts of crooner type songs.
Yes.
And they no longer served in the energy of the 60s and the 70s. But eventually, they come back into fashion. And like I said, there's no right or wrong. But in my opinion, of the singers that I'm familiar with, and I don't know everybody, the female singer who to me is the most versatile and has the purest voice that sounds good with different styles was Linda Ronstadt.
Okay.
She sang rock, and she sang different kinds of rock,
Yes.
Early to mid 60s rock, 70s and 80s rock, and they're very different from each other. She sang jazz standards. She sang like Irving Berlin. She sang with that conductor. I want to say Henry Mancini, but I don't think that's right. But like that, kind of schmaltzy, but love song type stuff. She sang light opera. Did you know that? She starred in The Pirates of Penzance, and she was fabulous.
That's great.
And she sang I don't know the Spanish for it, but the folk songs of mariachi,
Oh. Mm-hmm.
because she was half Spanish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Half Mexican. And she did a couple of albums with only those, all
Mm-hmm.
in Spanish. Beautiful, so good. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. And sadly, she has a neurological disorder now. She can't sing. It's taken her voice away.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. It's very sad. Very,
Wow.
very sad. But I will always feel fondly about her. I just really love her music.
Julie Andrews is pretty incredible.
I love her voice. I hate her politics. she's a royalist.
Okay.
She's a big kiss up to the queen, you know. I can't handle it, but I did love her singing.
Yeah. So
did you like Shirley Jones?
I don't remember a whole lot of Shirley Jones, to be honest with you. Speaking of Shirley Bassey's birthday was recently. Was a recent happened at the time of recording. So, and part I went through a phase in my music listening to where I went back and I found some of the old. I'm not gonna say old. I'm gonna say some of the classic standards.
Yeah.
And some of those, and I had a lot of fun with that. It's like, ooh, this is a really beautiful voice. They're not singing. They sing differently than what happens now.
The style, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, it's completely orchestrated differently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was really into oh my God, my mind just went blank. Singer from the 20s and 30s, Lady Sings the Blues. It's on the tip. Diana Ross played her in the movie. Her name is on the Lady Day, did they call her? Her name is on the tip of my tongue. Oh my God, she was fabulous, fabulous, fabulous singer.
Hang on, I will search it because it'll drive us crazy.
This is really sad. This is very, very sad here. I can't remember a damn thing anymore.
Let's see. Billie Holiday.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, Billie.
I know. Loved her. She was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And the style of music, it matters whether I'm gonna like it or not.
Yes.
Love like musical comedy, the Gershwins,
yeah.
Cole
Well,
Porter.
I was just thinking, I am a person who I want to really, in my music, I want a good melody and I want the lyrics to be meaningful and to be sung in a way that I feel what the artist is conveying. So, I mean,
you know who's good at that? And this is somebody else who is a little bit typecast, but can sing any style. Saw him in concert. It was so good. Willie Nelson.
Oh, okay.
He sings, everyone thinks he sings country, you know, and yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my God, he can sing anything. He has an album called Stardust.
Okay.
And it's a lot of old standards and love songs and the song Sunny Side of the Street. Do you know what that song is about?
Mm-mm.
Oh, here's a little bit of Americana for you. You know, grab your coat and grab your hat. You know that song?
Yes.
Life would be so sweet on the sunny side. Okay, that's about passing, racial passing.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting? It's all coded, and if you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a commentary on the social pressures for African American people who could make a life for themselves by kind of hiding in plain sight,
Yes.
which, sad to say, was what some people had no choice but to do.
Right.
And it's a coded reference to that. I think that's really interesting. Yeah.
It is. I love these. I love uncovering the deeper meaning about songs and lyrics and books. So,
Well, there's that song that Billie Holiday sang about strange fruit.
is this the one where, well, I know the book by that name.
Oh, I don't.
Okay. But go ahead, finish your thought.
I wonder if it's about the same thing. That's be interesting to find out. It's a lament. And it's kind of eerie because it has a lot of descriptive stuff about the South, and it's about lynching.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it's no.
Yeah.
So wow. Okay.
Yeah, but it's haunting, but it's beautiful in its own way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think that you tore enough popular musicians apart, but you're too nice.
I can't help it. I'm knitting. You know,
Madame Defarge.
Well, yeah. Well, and I also like to say I do like to knit with double points because it makes me look dangerous. You know, I've got all of those points coming out. So, but I have
or a domesticated porcupine.
Yes.
Okay,
that's right.
So this is good. I have an opinion, but I'm dying to hear what you have to say. Something that people share on social networks that annoys you. Where to start?
How much time do we have?
I know. How much do you actually watch? You probably watch more than your share because of YouTube, right?
Well, I'm thinking different social media.
Yeah.
And social media is ever evolving.
Yeah.
I do not air my dirty laundry. I am not going to do it in a social media place.
Thank you for that.
I'm not going to share it on YouTube. So,
where do you draw the line? So what does that mean, though? Where do you draw the line?
Where do I draw the line?
Yeah.
If I have a differing opinion than someone,
yeah,
I'm going to say that my opinion is a little different. And if I'm invited, I will share it. I am not going to go on a long-term rant about that.
Oh, well, let's just stipulate that if you're talking to me, you can just go for it because there's nothing better than a good debate. And
well, that's the thing. It's a debate because you're engaged. You're hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't need to know what you had for dinner. I do not need to know about your body functions.
Ew.
I do not need to know about your argument with your best friend. I do not need to know every negative thought that comes across your mind, because if you need it validated by putting it out on social media, I really am not interested.
I kind of agree with you, except that sometimes I find it fascinating, the things that matter to people. It's like a little study in psychopathology, you know. But I have two pet peeves. They kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
And they're not about like topical content. They're more about delivery.
Yes.
I refuse to watch anything that starts with, "Hi guys." I just, oh my God. That I don't know why. It drives me nuts. And then this.
Oh, yeah.
Those two things drive me absolutely stark raving mad. I don't know why. I have no explanation for it, but they just irritate me. I don't understand the impulse, and this is hilarious, isn't it, since we're filming ourselves on the device, but I don't understand the impulse to constantly be taking pictures of yourself, still pictures, posing in, I don't know, outfits or hairdos or makeup or whatever. It's that complete obsession with externals.
Yes. Well, yes, I am. I was having a conversation with my brother-in-law over the holidays. He was a police officer, a detective, and he was sharing that there's what happens on social media is very demeaning and detrimental to kids these days,
Yes.
because they are comparing themselves to people who are doing things with filters and who are saying things. And it just, the people's self-worth, if they are not like everyone else, it's demolished. And I'm just like going, ooh, wow. I mean, you're right.
No, that's absolutely true. You've got people who are, first of all, presenting a false facade. You don't know how many hours they have spent with the hair. If you could see behind them, the hair is all taped and structured. Okay. And then, and how many hours did it take them to iron it or whatever? And then the makeup is like modeling clay. You know, they've got so much, and they've got injections and water balloons and probably eating disorders. And how much did they spend to get and it's largely women, although men, and this drives me insane, the guys that pose in front of the mirror in the bathroom so you can see them holding the camera, and they're holding up their shirt so you can see their belly. I don't want to see that. I don't care, you know.
Well, okay, now I will say I might want to see that, but I don't need to see it on all of the social network where your mother's going to be watching.
Ew, yeah, that's disturbing too.
Come on. I'm just like going, but there's a time and a place for everything. And seriously, I do when I do stuff online, I am who I am authentically. I just don't feel a need to share everything, because what I do online doesn't really define completely who I am. It's part of who I am.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. I have a good time with it.
But you're telling us right now that you're going to keep your clothes on.
Well, on YouTube, I am.
That's what I'm saying.
If you go over to OnlyFans. No,
OnlyFans.
But I'm gonna. But the next video.
Link?
Yeah. But the next video I'm going to do, I'm going to go, hi guys.
Oh God! If you do that, I'm coming right through the screen for your throat.
Well, I was thinking, I did a series of videos where I did start with, hi, it's Gerald, and my channel name, and then I moved on.
No. That's not the same. That's completely understandable, and I might say hello, hi, or whatever. That's not it. It's not just the words. It's the delivery. Hi guys, like all 80 million of you are my friend, and I just happen to be dropping by. It's just so, it's mannered and it's phony. And then the whole posing thing in whatever iteration. To me, what bothers me is the emphasis on externals. I think that's very sad.
I agree with you, and I completely understand. I think I'm intelligent enough to recognize there's branding, and that idea of you do certain things the same way every time, because that consistency really helps. What do you say when you start your video?
I say my little Gaelic thing, which is, Kate Falcha, it's 1,000 readings or 1,000 welcomes. It's just a formula for saying hi. And you're right. It's to establish, to make a distinction by establishing what it is about you that's slightly different than other people. Mm-hmm. But these people that we're talking about with the posing and the lips and everything, they're not making themselves distinctive from everybody else. They're trying to all look alike. It's so weird to me. Yeah.
And I know some people, it is helpful for some people to be able to find connection with others who have similar life experience. I'm good with that.
Well, you're a better person than I am.
Well, I'm good with that because
Yeah.
I have the ability to, okay, this isn't for me. I'm going to do something different. And I'm going to do it without leaving a comment that this is stupid or I
Oh, I
hated
hate
the
that. Yeah.
show.
Why?
You know,
Why?
that anonymity and that nasty remark.
Yeah.
It's just mean. That's not the energy flow that I want around me.
I
It's
have
gross.
never done that. I make all of my critiques absolutely public out loud. I don't leave. Why would you do that? That seems cowardly.
Well, I think part of it for me is as a person who, I worked at the library, and a lot of the time was as a trainer, and it was important to maintain a learner's self-esteem. If you got something incorrect or didn't do it the way it was supposed to be done, don't belittle anybody. Just help them. Laugh about it and move back to it and have that opportunity. I'm not one to demean anybody. That's not who I am.
Well, that's because you're a nice person.
Well, thank you. My parents would be very pleased to hear that. So,
of course, some of your siblings might disagree, but
well, and I would say the same thing about them. So,
I know.
But I would probably say it to their face instead of behind their back.
I guess it's the superficiality. And we have become so narcissistic as a society.
Yeah.
And it worries me. I worry that the more narcissistic we get, the less empathetic we become.
Mm-hmm.
And that I find that symptomatic of really deep problems.
Yeah. There's that need for compassion and understanding and curiosity, the ability to just to be in the same space with somebody.
And to tolerate them. And tolerate somebody, it's kind of a judgy term because it implies that you don't really get along with whatever that is they're doing or saying, but you'll put up with it.
Well, yes, you're right. Well, and that's an interesting thing, Helen. I have really been paying attention to the words that I use, just in the sense of I love the idea of the what's the history of the words?
Etymology?
Thank you. I was going to say something else that was not quite right. That
ichthyology.
That had something to do with childbirth, and I knew that was the wrong word.
Oh.
Episiotomy.
Yeah, you're way off.
But because I get worried that we're losing some of these amazing words that are around, and how when we slow down and we understand what that word means, we have it's part of that history of it. It's that ancestral energy that comes through. It's like, oh, that's what that means. Okay. That's when it was popular. And I am a firm believer of the importance of taking back words that have been manipulated and used against people, and where people like, nope, I'm owning this word. This is exactly what I'm doing.
I'm going to use one right now because this is cultural too. I was raised in a household where the adults, and there were 3 of them because my grandmother lived with us, all spoke a version of English that came from the countryside in Ireland, right? Mm-hmm. And different words had different meanings. It wasn't a sidewalk, it was a footpath. And when I went to school, I had to straighten up pretty quickly because kids are brutal, right? That cloth that you use to wash your face, Americans call it
washcloth or
a washcloth or a wash rag. In my house, it was a face flannel.
Mm-hmm.
So here's one that I hope I don't get in trouble with YouTube by saying this. When something was odd, like what an odd conundrum, what a puzzle. My family would say queer. And then I went to school. Oh boy, it was a loaded word, right? You know what I'm saying? So people have taken that back. And I feel good about that now, that it's no longer verboten, it's not forbidden, but it's still differently used. It has a different definition completely. It means unusual or odd or puzzling or mysterious.
Yes.
And it's not quite how it was used for a long time in this country.
Yes. Are you familiar with the series of unfortunate events books?
Oh yes.
Snicket?
Oh yes.
If for those of you who are watching, if you're not familiar with those, I don't care if you're 30 or 100, pick them up from your local library. You can download them from your library free. They're written for kids, but I bring them up because it's a series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket. I mention it because the author, Lemony Snicket, put in words that people don't usually know. And he would say, in this case, that means blah, blah, blah. So it was beautifully woven into, here you go. You may not know this word, but this is what it means.
Yeah, this is what it means by using it rather than preachifying about it.
Yes.
That was the time that those books came out when my kids were growing up. So they were, I've got a number of them on the shelf over there. Very popular books. And we homeschooled. And so words were very important to me. And any book that gave kids more access to a larger vocabulary, right up my alley, which is, I think, something that's missed about the Harry Potter books. I'm not a big fan of the Harry Potter books because the storyline doesn't hold me. Magic, I don't care. Right. Flying around, great. But I loved the use of Latin. Loved it. Very cleverly done. Really well done. Now,
well, the one thing that was great about those books when they first came out is it made it okay for boys to read.
Oh, I had a house full of girls, so I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, so it made it cool it made it okay. I mean, the boys were excited to read this book. And of course, I work with children's librarians who, when there's a long waiting list for the Harry Potter books, here, while you're waiting for Harry Potter, try this book, try this book, try this book. And what it did is it engaged a different group of readers, new readers.
Young people, to get them in the habit.
Yep.
Did you ever, you must know these books. I don't know if it was Amazing or Incredible or Wonderful Mr. Bass and the Mushroom Planet, Eleanor Cameron?
I don't remember that one.
Oh my God. Was I the only kid who ever read those books? Nobody ever seems to remember them. I actually had copies that were like what's the word I want? Republished,
Oh, reissue?
Yeah, reissued. And I gave them to my granddaughter, and they're probably at Goodwill now. It was all about two boys, because all the protagonists were boys. Two boys in early 60s, and they were best friends, and they were in their backyard building a fake spaceship.
Okay.
And the next door neighbor was this odd little man. He looked very much like E.T. way before E.T. was ever a thing. And he had all sorts of scientific and intriguing otherworldly sort of abilities. And it sort of tapped into the space race and that whole zeitgeist. I don't know why, because I was never a big fan of science fiction, but I really like those books. So here's the final question, because we've been talking for a while now, which I could go on for hours, but some people have other things to do. Okay, so this is the final question. Something your parents do, or we could say did, that annoys you? You sorting through the list to find.
Well, I'm thinking about this because, you know, I did some processing for a while after I moved out, and part of it was they would have these regular habits that I didn't understand, that I found it was annoying. It's like Dad would always call around noon to find out what was in the mail. And you know, he would get home and they would, Mom would want to have dinner ready for him. And I realized that as an adult, Dad really wasn't really checking in on the mail. He was checking in with Mom.
Yeah.
How her day was going and
right.
stuff like that. So there was a nice little beauty about that. Thing that my mother would sometimes be late in getting ready to go someplace, and my father would go out and he would start the car and wait in the car
with the engine on.
And it was like incredible tension. It was like, oh, okay. So, yeah.
We had a little opposite. My father, 100% of the time, I mean, it never failed. He'd go out to the car and he'd have to go back in to get something he forgot. Even if it was nothing, he had to go back, and it was almost an inability to leave, like a little bit of an OCD thing. But the thing that my mother did that drove me out of my mind. So we were both raised Catholic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just being sure. I just assume everybody.
Yeah.
And I was 25 years old, working in a hospital, the evening shift, and the phone would ring, and part of my job was answering the phone. Phone would ring, and I pick it up. It was my mother. This happened a number of times. And she'd say, well, do you have time to talk? And there's a lull in the hospital. The shifts have changed. Dinner hasn't come. It's kind of a quiet period of time. And I got 5 or 10 minutes I could talk. And I said, yeah, but I might have to go. But yeah. And so she talked. She was a nurse, so she knew. And we'd talk a little bit. And she'd ask me what I'd been up to all day. And I'd tell her, oh, I did this, I did that. And just about the time we were ready to say goodbye, she'd say, and did you go to Mass today? Because it was a holy day of obligation. And she tricked me into giving my whole chronology of my day and not ever mentioning going to Mass. It used to drive me insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just, the religious police.
Well, now I think that's something that all mothers can do. Do you do that with your kids?
No, because we're not religious and they're adults, and I never monitor their choices.
Yes.
I don't talk about the men in their lives. I don't. The worst thing that I have done, which I did recently, is my grandson is just, it's boy energy. I'll just write it off. And I think I said to his mother at one point, when he was doing gymnastics on my couch at the same time that he was making as much vocal noise as he could, I said to her, what's wrong with him? And she took a little bit of offense to that, but this was after days. I burnt out, right? But for the most part, I don't criticize their child raising. I might question their choice of food if they're like totally into, I don't know, deep fried tofu or something. And I'm allergic to tofu. So I'll just, no, thank you. But I try really hard not to, because my parents did it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What about, well, you don't have children.
Don't have kids.
I'm sure you're aware of that. You don't need me to tell you.
Yes.
Nieces and nephews, though, do you give them a hard time?
No. I'm the cool uncle.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
I'm the cool mother/mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
almost too cool of a grandmother. I don't hover. No. You know how I have friends who are like, oh, grandchildren, come on. Get over that. It's ridiculous.
Oh, something that I wanted to share about knitting is,
Oh,
by the way, this is how much I've knit on this hat.
show
So,
off. Show off.
so
And it's beautiful. The colors are lovely.
I will probably finish that up a
I
little bit
did
later.
2 rows,
This is good. This is good. But I know you don't eat bread anymore, right?
Mm.
Okay. You know the bread tags?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's very clever.
Bread tags are a great way to hold on so that you have it if you don't want to cut it until you're done.
Right.
So
The
just
dangly
tie
parts.
it on there and twist that around.
Gerald, I've learned so much today. I can't get over it.
So if people are joining us, we're gonna do this again, and next time I will have cast on some socks.
And if they're joining us, it better be with a spit join, right?
If yes, you could do a spit splice.
Spit splice, sorry.
Spit splice. If you want. You don't have to. So you're going to knit one sock, and then you're going to finish it, and then you're going to start the other one.
Well, there's no way in the world that I'll get that far this week because I do it at night when everything else is calmed down. But what my goal is, I'd like to get to the heel, and right about the point where I start to lose it, it'll be time for our next get together.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can guide me through it rather than me crying because I don't understand, because that's usually what ends up happening.
And if you're smart and you know yourself well enough, stop knitting before you get frustrated and you do something silly like rip it all out.
That's my best. I'm talented at that.
Well, and I do tell people is this, if you're doing this at a certain time of the day and you're having a beverage, make sure that the beverage is acceptable with knitting.
So, like, what would you mean by that?
If someone were to have an adult beverage, know how many adult beverages you can have to go with your knitting.
Right.
So I am not going to turn a heel whilst having multiple adult beverages.
And see, for me, that's not the issue. For me, it's more being distracted by like a really crisis moment in 90 Day Fiance.
Oh, okay.
I get distracted, I watch this stupid stuff that requires no real attention until the drama like Love After Lockup and somebody's just been released from prison. I might want to pay attention to that. I'm just saying. So,
well, that's where if you do big knitting, you can knit a hat in the round, because
that's right.
You notice I wasn't really looking at my knitting the whole time.
I know. I was jealous because I was doing knit purl. I had to count and make sure I didn't sit. And I can't see, so I practically need,
Yeah. And what's funny is I did something to where I usually do knit 2, purl 2, rib.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I like.
Mm-hmm.
I did it on purpose to where I did a knit 3, purl 3 rib.
A little broader.
To make it a little broader. And my goodness, I kid you not, because I am so in tune with knit 2, purl 2, I just do it. But boy, that knit 3, purl 3, and we're talking.
Are you talking about how it looks or how easy it was to knit?
It's so easy to knit. I did it on autopilot. Yeah. And knit 2, purl 2, rib. These are knits right here.
Right.
And these are purls.
Right
here. Well, there.
Yeah.
They're the little turtlenecks. The knits are the V's.
Right.
And the turtlenecks are the purls.
I do love that rib. It's very I don't know, there's something comforting about it. Does that sound weird?
No, it doesn't. And I just point that out because the knit 1, purl 1 rib, it might be hard for me to do. I might change that because I'm the knitter. I might make it into a knit 2, purl 2 rib.
And you have the permission to do that. Now
Yep.
this is a rib also because it's just the cuff part of the sock, and it can
Yep.
be as long as you want, but it's knit one, purl one.
Mhm.
Which ordinarily would not be that big of a deal because if you are messing it up, you kind of notice right away.
Yes.
It's so little. I'm tortured trying to see it. You
Yeah.
have to kind of pay attention. I'm not real fond of the look of garter stitch.
Which is what this is.
You can't tell.
Garter stitch is.
Well, I guess you can close up. But
garter
I think
stitch is
the
knitting
colors
back and forth.
distract.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
This is
colors.
going to be a hat.
Yeah.
Jeffrey challenged me. He said, it'd be really nice if you could knit it so that the colors, the stripes would go vertical.
Go vertical. He thought he had
like
you fooled.
Well, that's not how it normally works, but okay.
Yeah.
So
that was clever the way to do it, though. You'll have 2 seams.
I will. Yes, I'll have 2 seams, and I might, because basically I'll knit it as long as it needs to be to go around the head.
Give him little points.
Yeah, I'll do the little points. So I'll have a seam here and then across the top. I may actually pick up stitches and knit a rib down if I want.
Oh, he would love you if you did that.
So
to have something to turn up, he would just be.
Well, he's not the turn up guy. I am.
Oh, that's right.
So
he doesn't like to turn up. That's right. I agree with Jeffrey. I don't agree with you.
Yes, I know.
Right. No offense. Yeah.
None taken.
You'd be sulking about that all week, Gerald.
No. Well, and of course, I'm just like I'm knitting hats and I'm just trying different things, and he's like, and I'm like, I should probably send these to a bunch of people. He's like, well, why? I said, you're not going to wear this many hats, and he said, who says I'm not going to wear this many hats?
Well, a fella needs a wardrobe.
He does, and he is. He does shave his head, so he's cold.
Oh, poor thing. He's not a cop, is he?
No.
Okay. They all do that, I have a brother who's a retired firefighter. They all shave their heads now. It's the look. They shave their heads and they wear glasses. You know why?
Why?
It removes a little bit of your individuality. It makes you it's anonymity.
Oh.
If you can't describe them by their eyes or their hair, you don't know who to blame for their bad behavior.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. I don't know if they could articulate that, but that's my gut feeling. It's an attempt at a certain amount of anonymity, and it's a little bit of a identification,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm hoping to be a cop someday.
Do you knit yourself a hat, lady?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
When I knit hats at Christmas,
You knit one for you. I remember
I took
that.
one. Yeah.
Good.
I have 4 or 5 of them that I sort of circulate. Yeah. Because right now it's very cold.
It's rather chilly here as well.
Yeah.
We're not in the single digits today, but we were earlier in the week, and
oh, that's bad.
we will be over the weekend.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's not okay. My husband discovered he has a little fan thing that he found that he had in the garage, and he discovered that if he sets it up in the corner across from the wood stove, it heats the whole entire downstairs. It's unbelievable how much of a difference it makes.
That's good.
Yeah. So we won't die anyway from that. Yeah.
So.
Thank you so much, Gerald. I've learned so many things from you today. This is wonderful. And I think probably you were an enormous help to people. You're a very good teacher.
Well, thank you. I'm hoping, and we will be scheduling this again. I love the questions. Those are fun.
Isn't that fun? Oh my God.
Well, and this is genuinely this is what you do in a knitting circle. You knit, you focus on what you need to focus on, but you enjoy each other's company.
Yeah. You BS. My favorite.
That too.
No, it's astounding, the range of topics and what you get to know about people.
Yes. Well, I think
it's quite clear neither of us has an opinion about anything.
I will be withholding my opinions until the next time that we are together. But I won't have an opinion about anything. I'll probably be bursting at the seams the next time we see each other then.
Oh God, I'm not sure. I'm not looking forward to that.
No.
Oh, well, I've never been known to hold back. So what can I say? I apologize to anybody I may have offended. Mea culpa.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And appreciate anybody who might be watching. Oh, I guess nobody can be watching live, right? We decided that I messed that up. So
you're not set up, but next time we can do live.
We'll try to remember. Yeah.
Here, we'll put it this way. If you want to watch live, leave a comment to tell Helen that you'd like to watch this live so that you can join in if you want.
And then remind me again. Because it's not a habit, I don't usually.
I understand.
Yeah. You know what? Next time we get together, you'll ask me right away, did I set it up? And if I didn't, we'll start over and we'll set it up.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you, Gerald, my friend, and we'll do this again. Slongafoil. Slongafoil means see you later.
Okay.
Okay.